The stars shone brightly against the dark canvas of space. Earth's International Space Station floated silently, its solar panels gleaming in the sunlight. Inside, Captain Jun Kim checked his uniform one last time. Today would go down in history. Today, humans would meet aliens for the first time. "Captain, they're approaching," said Lieutenant Mina Kang, her eyes fixed on the monitor. "Arrival in 5 minutes." Jun nodded. His heart beat fast, but his face stayed calm. 6 months ago, the strange signal had reached Earth. 3 months of careful messages back and forth, and now the Viridian Collective was sending a ship to meet them. "Is Dr. Park ready with her team?" asked Jun. "Yes, sir. They're waiting in the science bay." Jun made his way through the narrow corridors of the station. The year was 2089. And humanity had spread to the Moon and Mars. But this meeting would change everything. Dr. Hannah Park looked up as Jun entered. Her team of scientists stood nervously around her. "Ready to make history?" Jun asked. Hannah smiled. "I've been ready my whole life, though I wish they'd picked someone else to lead Earth's xenobiology team." "They picked the best," said Jun. "No one knows more about possible alien life than you." A loud beep sounded through the station. The computer's voice followed. "Unknown vessel docking. Stand by." Everyone held their breath. Metal clanged against metal as the alien ship connected to the station. "Remember," said Jun to the gathered team, "we represent all of humanity today." The airlock door slid open slowly. A strange mist poured into the room. And then they appeared, the Viridians. 3 tall figures stepped forward. They had smooth gray skin that seemed to shimmer with a blue glow. Their eyes were large and completely black, with no visible pupils. They had 4 arms, each ending in 7-fingered hands. They wore simple white suits that covered most of their bodies. The middle alien stepped forward. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Xorlath, ambassador of the Viridian Collective. We come in peace and friendship." The alien's voice was soft and musical, speaking perfect English through a small device on its chest. Jun stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Ambassador Xorlath, I am Captain Jun Kim. On behalf of the people of Earth, we welcome you and thank you for this historic meeting." Over the next few hours, both sides shared information. The Viridians explained that they were an alliance of 7 different alien species who had been exploring space for thousands of years. They were peaceful traders and scientists, looking to expand their knowledge of the universe. "We have watched your planet for some time," said Xorlath. "Your species is unique in many ways." "How so?" asked Hannah, who had been carefully taking samples of the air around the Viridians. "You evolved on a planet of extremes," said Xorlath. "Natural disasters, predators, diseases. Most intelligent species we have encountered evolved in much safer environments." Another Viridian named Telkar added, "Your history is filled with survival against all odds." "It is impressive." The meeting went well. The aliens shared some of their technology and scientific knowledge. They were especially interested in human art, music, and stories. "Your people create so much beauty despite living with constant danger," said Xorlath. "This is rare in the galaxy." After the formal meeting, Hannah invited the Viridians to her lab to exchange biological data. Jun joined them, watching as the aliens willingly provided samples for study. "This will help us understand if there are any health risks between our species," Hannah explained as she worked. Later that night, after the Viridians had returned to their ship, Hannah called Jun to her lab. Her face looked worried. "Captain, I found something in the Viridian data," she said, pointing to her screen. "Their immune systems are completely different from ours. They have no natural defense against many Earth bacteria and viruses." Jun frowned. "Is that a problem? We can be careful with contamination." "It's not just that," said Hannah. "Look at their stress response." The screen showed diagrams of Viridian brain chemistry. Hannah explained, "When they feel fear or stress, their bodies shut down. They freeze. It's how they evolved. By hiding from danger, not fighting it. Interesting, said June. Humans get stronger and faster when we're afraid or stressed. Exactly, said Hana. They've never seen anything like it. That's why they're so fascinated by human history. We face danger head-on. Minna rushed into the lab, interrupting them. Captain, Ambassador Thorlath needs to speak with you immediately. June hurried to the communication room. Thorlath's face appeared on the screen, looking tense. Captain Kim, we have detected ships entering your solar system, said the alien. More of your people? Asked June. No, these are Corvins. Thorlath's voice trembled slightly. They are not peaceful. They conquer and take resources. Hostile aliens. June's military training kicked in. How many ships? What are their weapons capabilities? 7 large warships. Their technology is advanced. They have likely been monitoring our communication. Why would they come here? Asked Hana, who had followed June to the room. Thorlath's large black eyes seemed to grow darker. New species are either threats to eliminate or resources to use. That is the Corvin way. We need to warn Earth, said June, already sending emergency signals to mission control. There is another concern, said Thorlath. The Corvins will see that we have made contact with you. They may view this as the Viridian Collective claiming your world. This could make them more aggressive. So us meeting you might have put Earth in danger, asked June. We did not know they were watching, said Thorlath. I deeply apologize. Over the next day, Earth's governments went into emergency mode. The Viridians shared what they knew about Corvin technology and tactics. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. Scientists worked with the Viridian data to prepare defenses. June and Hana were called to an emergency meeting with world leaders, joining via video from the space station. The Viridians say these Corvins have conquered many worlds, said the Secretary General of the United Nations. What are our chances? The Viridians are peaceful explorers, said June. They don't have much military experience with the Corvins, but they've given us all the technical information they have. Hana added, there's something else. The Viridians told me that most species they've encountered surrender to the Corvins immediately. Fighting back is not common in their experience. Well, that's not going to happen here, said the American president firmly. The Viridians seem surprised by our determination to defend ourselves, said June. Their biology makes them freeze when threatened. They can't understand how we can plan and think clearly while in danger. The Chinese premier spoke up. Then the Corvins have never faced humans before. We will show them something new. The meeting continued as plans formed. Earth would not go down without a fight. Humanity would stand united against this threat. Back on the space station, June found Thorlath watching Earth through a viewport. Your people are preparing to fight, said the alien. Most species we know would be paralyzed with fear by now. That's not how humans work, said June. Danger makes us act, not freeze. Fascinating, said Thorlath. In my thousands of years exploring the galaxy, I have never seen this quality in such abundance. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Minna's voice came over the speakers. Captain, the Corvin ships have accelerated. They'll reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. June turned to Thorlath. You should leave now. Get to safety. The alien seemed conflicted. We brought this danger to you. We should help. With respect, Ambassador, your people aren't built for this kind of situation. We are. We've been surviving threats since we climbed down from the trees. As if to prove his point, the station shook violently. A small Corvin scout ship had fired on them. While the Viridians visibly trembled, the human crew jumped into action. June barked orders, Hana secured her lab samples, and station defenses powered up. See, said June to the stunned Thorlath. This is what humans do in a crisis. We don't shut down. We light up. As the Viridians retreated to their ship, preparing to hide in the dark side of the moon, they watched the humans with newfound respect. Earth below was mobilizing its defenses. People working together despite the overwhelming odds. The Corvin fleet appeared on the horizon, their massive ships blocking out the stars. Earth's darkest hour was about to begin, but humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they were made of. And the Viridians would be watching, learning what it truly meant to be fearless. 6 months had passed since first contact with the Viridians. Earth had changed quickly. New defenses were built in space. Countries that once fought each other now worked together. Everyone knew the Corvins were coming. Commander Dasong stood on the roof of the hidden base in the Himalayas. Cold wind bit at his face, but he didn't mind. After 20 years in the Korean Space Force, he had seen many things, but nothing like this. "Commander," a young soldier called from the doorway. "The meeting is starting." Day nodded and followed her inside. The base was carved into the mountain, safe from most scans. Military leaders from around the world filled the room, both in person and on screens. "The Corvins have destroyed our moon base," said General Torres from America. "They've taken out most of our satellites. Earth is now under blockade." "What about the space station?" Captain Kim asked Da. "We lost contact 2 days ago," said a Japanese officer. "We must assume the worst." Day's jaw tightened. June had been his friend since training days. He pushed aside his feelings and focused on the task. "The Viridians?" he asked. "They've retreated to the edge of the solar system," said Torres. "They say they want to help, but they can't handle the stress of battle." Some officers laughed bitterly at this. Humans had no such luxury. "We're on our own," said Da. "So be it. We've always been on our own." The screen suddenly flickered. A new face appeared, not human. Its skin was red-orange with ridges on the forehead. Yellow eyes stared out at them. "People of Earth," said the alien, "I am Supreme Commander Drax of the Corvin Dominion. Your planet is now under our control. Surrender, and you may live as our subjects. Resist, and we will destroy you." The room stayed silent, but Day could see the anger in everyone's eyes. "You have one Earth day to decide," said Drax before the screen went black. "Well," said Torres with a grim smile, "at least we know what they look like now." Plans formed quickly. Open battle against the Corvins was impossible. Their ships were too powerful, but humans were good at fighting in other ways. "Guerrilla tactics," said Da. "Small, fast strikes. Hit and run. We can't beat their technology, but we can make them bleed." Around the world, resistance groups formed. The Corvins landed troops in major cities, expecting humans to give up easily. They were wrong. In a lab deep under Seoul, scientist Jin Lee worked day and night. Her team had captured Corvin weapons and technology. They needed to understand it, to use it. "They think they're so advanced," Jin muttered as she took apart a Corvin rifle. "Let's see how advanced they are when we turn their guns against them." A soft chime sounded. A screen lit up, showing a familiar face. "Jin, you're alive." It was Hana Park. "Hana, where are you?" Jin asked, shocked to see her old college friend. "With the Viridians at the edge of the solar system. I was transferred off the space station before the attack." "Listen, I don't have much time. The Viridians are watching everything. They're amazed." "Amazed? At what?" "That we're being conquered." Jin's voice was bitter. "At how humans are fighting back," said Hana. "No species they've ever encountered responds to danger like we do. The Viridians physically can't fight when threatened. Their bodies shut down. The Corvins have never faced a species that gets stronger under pressure." Jin thought about this. "Is that why they retreated? The Viridians?" "Yes," said Hana, looking embarrassed. "Their entire evolution is based on avoiding danger. When the attack started, they couldn't function. But they're watching, learning, and I'm sharing everything I know about human biology with them." "Well, while they're watching, we're dying," said Jin. "I have to go. We're breaking into a Corvin supply depot tonight." "Be careful," said Hana. "And Jin, Don't judge the Viridians too harshly. They literally can't help it. It would be like judging someone for not being able to breathe underwater. The screen went dark. That night, Jin joined De's team for the raid. They moved through the empty streets of Seoul, staying in shadows. The once busy city was under curfew, Corvin patrols marching through streets lined with broken buildings. "Ready?" asked Da, checking his stolen Corvin blaster. Jin nodded, clutching her bag of tools. "I need 10 minutes inside their systems." "You'll get 5, said Da with a small smile. They attacked quickly. The human fighters moved like shadows, taking down Corvin guards with surprise on their side. Jin raced to the main computer, plugging in her devices. "Hurry," urged Dai as alarms began to sound. "Almost there," said Jin, her fingers flying over the alien keyboard she'd learned to use. "Got it. I'm in their network." Dad pulled her away. "Time to go." They escaped just as Corvin reinforcements arrived. Back at their hidden base, Jin downloaded what she'd stolen. "This is their entire communication system," she said excitedly. "And look, there's something interesting here. The Corvins have a weakness." "A weakness?" asked Da, leaning closer. "They're sensitive to certain sound frequencies. It disrupts their neural patterns," said Jin. "If we could broadcast these sounds, we could incapacitate them without killing them." "That's better than I hoped for," said Da. "Can you build something to use this?" "With time, yes," said Jin. "But there's more. The Corvins are worried. Reports from all over Earth show humans fighting back in ways they didn't expect. They've never dealt with a species that becomes more effective under stress." Day smiled. "Good. Let them worry." The next day, the Corvins made an announcement to the entire planet. Supreme Commander Drax's face appeared on every working screen. "Humans of Earth, your resistance is pointless and illogical. To demonstrate our power, we will destroy one major city unless you surrender immediately. We have targeted Seoul, Korea. You have 6 hours to comply." The message triggered emergency meetings worldwide. Leaders argued about what to do. "We can't let them destroy Seoul," said one official. "Millions will die." "If we surrender, billions will live as slaves," countered another. Day stood up. "We evacuate who we can from Seoul, but we do not surrender." "That's your home city," said Torres. "You would let it be destroyed." "Yes," said Dai firmly. "Because I know something the Corvins don't. Humans value freedom more than safety. We always have." In orbit above Earth, aboard the Viridian observation ship, Hannah watched these discussions through their monitoring systems. Ambassador Thorlath stood beside her, his large black eyes wide with disbelief. "They would sacrifice a city rather than surrender?" asked Thorlath. "This is... I have no words. It's how we've survived as a species," said Hannah. "We make hard choices. But the loss of life..." Sorlath's voice trembled. "Is terrible," agreed Hannah. "But the loss of freedom is worse, in human eyes. We fought countless wars over this principle." "Your species continues to astound us," said Thorlath. "When the Corvins first approached, my people could barely function. The fear, it overwhelms us physically. Yet humans seem to think more clearly in crisis." "It's not that we don't feel fear," explained Hannah. "We feel it strongly, but we've evolved to use it as fuel, not as a paralyzing agent." On Earth, a massive evacuation of Seoul began. It was chaotic and incomplete, but millions flooded the city. The Corvins, expecting surrender, were shocked when humans instead defied them. When the deadline came, the Corvins fired their weapon. Seoul, a city of 10 million, was reduced to rubble in minutes. The world watched in horror, but instead of breaking human spirit, it hardened their resolve. Jin, who had escaped with her team, stood on a hill overlooking the destroyed city. Tears ran down her face, but her voice was steady. "They think this will make us give up," she said to Da. "They don't understand humans at all." Day put his hand on her shoulder. No, they don't. And that's going to be their downfall. That night, resistance attacks increased tenfold across the planet. The Corvins, expecting submission, found themselves facing furious humans who had nothing left to lose. And watching from space, the Viridians began to understand what made humans different from any species they had ever encountered. It wasn't that humans felt no fear in their darkest hour. It was that they felt it, and kept going anyway. 3 months had passed since Seoul was destroyed. The world was different now. Cities lay in ruins. Millions had died. But humans kept fighting. Jin Lee hadn't slept properly in days. Her lad was hidden in an old mine far from Corvin patrols. Computers and stolen alien tech filled the cramped space. Her eyes burned from staring at screens, but she couldn't stop. Not when she was so close. "I've got it," she whispered as the final piece of code fell into place. "I've cracked their entire communication system." She pressed a button, and Corvin messages filled her screen. She could now hear everything they said to each other. What she learned made her smile for the first time in weeks. "They're afraid of us," she said to herself. "They don't understand why we won't give up." Jin sent a secure message to Commander Da. Within an hour, resistance leaders from around the world joined a hidden video call. "The Corvins are vulnerable," Jin explained. "Their neural systems are disrupted by specific sound frequencies. I've created a device that can broadcast these sounds. It won't kill them, but it will make them unable to fight." "How close do we need to be?" asked Da. "That's the problem," said Jin. "The main transmitter needs to be on their mothership in orbit. We need a way to get there." "Impossible," said General Torres. "We have no spacecraft left that could reach orbit." The screen suddenly split, showing a new face. It was Hana Park, broadcasting from the Viridian ship. "Maybe not impossible," said Hana. "The Viridians have been watching. They want to help now." "Now." Day's voice was hard. "After 3 months of hiding while we die." Ambassador Xorlath appeared next to Hana. The alien looked different, thinner, with dark circles under its large eyes. "We understand your anger, Commander," said Xorlath. "My people were incapacitated by fear, but Dr. Park has been teaching us about human biology. How you use fear as motivation. We have been trying to learn." "And?" asked Da. "We cannot change our biology," said Xorlath, "but we can provide you with a ship, one that can reach the Corvin mothership." Jin looked at Da. Hope flickered in her eyes. "We'll need a small team," said Da, "and Dr. Lee must go to upload the sonic weapon." Plans formed quickly. The Viridians would provide a small, fast ship. Captain Jun Kim, who had survived the space station attack and been rescued by the Viridians, would pilot it. Jin would bring her sonic device. Da would lead a team of 5 soldiers, and surprisingly, Ambassador Xorlath insisted on coming too. "I must see this," said the alien. "I must understand how humans face death so bravely." The night before the mission, Jin couldn't sleep. She sat outside their hidden base, looking at the stars. Da found her there. "Worried?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Terrified," said Jin honestly. "But that doesn't mean I won't go." Da smiled. "That's what the Viridians can't understand. They think being fearless means feeling no fear, but that's not it at all. Being fearless means feeling fear and acting anyway," said Jin. On the Viridian ship, Hana was explaining something similar to Xorlath. "Humans evolved as both predator and prey," she said. "We had to hunt, but we were also hunted. So we developed 2 responses to danger. Flight or fight," said Xorlath. "We only have flight. Our bodies shut down if we cannot run." "Exactly," said Hana. "But humans can choose either response, and sometimes we choose to fight even when the odds are terrible." Xorlath's large eyes blinked slowly. "Is this courage?" "Yes," said Hana. "And it's not the absence of fear. It's acting despite fear." The next day, the mission began. The small Viridian ship slipped past Corvin defenses using advanced cloaking technology. June piloted skillfully, his hand steady despite not having flown in months. Approaching the mothership, he said, ready for docking. The ship silently attached to a maintenance airlock on the huge Corvin vessel. Day turned to his team. We move fast. Jin installs the device. We protect her. Then we leave. Simple. And if we can't leave? Asked one soldier. Day looked at each person. Then we make sure the mission succeeds anyway. Torlath watched in fascination. These humans knew they might die, yet they showed no signs of paralysis. They entered the Corvin ship quietly, taking down guards with silent weapons. Jin followed the map she created from stolen data. The central communication hub was 3 levels up. This way, she whispered. As they moved through the ship, an alarm suddenly blared. They'd been spotted. Run, ordered Da. They raced through corridors, firing at Corvin troops who appeared ahead. One of Da's soldiers fell, shot in the chest. Another stayed behind to hold off pursuers. Keep going, he shouted as he fired his weapon. I'll buy you time. Torlath was shocked. He sacrifices himself willingly. For the mission, said Jin as they ran. For Earth. They reached the communication hub, but more Corvins were coming. Da and his remaining soldiers took positions at the door. How long do you need? Da asked Jin. 5 minutes to install it, 1 minute to activate, she said, already working on the alien console. You've got it, said Da. He turned to Torlath. Stay with her. The sounds of battle filled the corridor as Da and his team fought off waves of Corvin troops. Jin worked frantically, connecting her device to the Corvin systems. Almost there, she said, sweat dripping from her forehead. A blast rocked the room. Da fell back through the doorway, wounded in the shoulder. They're coming, he gasped. Too many. Another soldier fell. Only Da and one other defender remained. The Corvins would break through any second. It's ready, said Jin, but I need to activate it manually. There's no timer. Day understood what this meant. Someone would have to stay behind. I'll do it, he said, struggling to his feet. No, said Jin. You're wounded. You can't hold them off long enough. I'll do it. Both of you go, said Torlath suddenly. The alien stepped forward, taking the activation tool from Jin. I will stay. You? Jin was surprised. But your people can't handle stress. You'll freeze up. Yes, said Torlath. But watching you humans, I have learned something. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is feeling fear and acting anyway. Dad looked at the alien with new respect. You'll die. Perhaps, said Torlath. But my people must understand what it means to stand against evil. Dr. Park explained human history to me. How your kind repeatedly chose death over slavery. I did not understand then. I do now. The last soldier at the door called out. They're breaking through. Go, said Torlath to Jin and Da. Tell my people what you taught me. They had no time to argue. Jin gave Torlath quick instructions on activating the device. Then she and Da fled toward the ship. The last soldier covered their retreat, falling in battle. As they reached the Viridian ship, Jun was waiting anxiously. Where are the others? He asked. Gone, said Da grimly. Let's go. The ship detached just as Corvin troops reached the airlock. As they sped away, Jin watched the mothership on the scanner. Torlath should be activating it now, she said, if he can overcome his fear. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, all Corvin communications went silent. The mothership's weapons powered down. He did it, whispered Jin. He actually did it. Across Earth, Corvin soldiers suddenly clutched their heads in pain. The sound weapon worked perfectly, disrupting their neural patterns. They couldn't fight. They couldn't even stand. In the Viridian observation ship, Hannah watched in amazement as the Corvin invasion force crumbled. She turned to the Viridian crew. "Your ambassador just saved Earth," she said. One Viridian stepped forward. Korlath said humans taught him something important. That facing fear is more important than feeling no fear. "Did he survive?" asked Hana. There was no answer. But on the small ship returning to Earth, Jin and Dai knew. Sorlath had overcome his species' strongest instinct, to freeze in the face of danger. He had chosen to act despite his fear. As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Jin looked out at the damaged planet below. Cities in ruins, millions dead, but humanity had survived, and they had shown the galaxy something important. True fearlessness wasn't about feeling no fear. It was about feeling fear and choosing to act anyway. It was the human way. And now, it was the Viridian way too. 1 year had passed since the defeat of the Corvins. Earth was healing slowly. Cities were being rebuilt. Fields were green again. But the scars remained, both on the land and in people's hearts. Jin Li stood in the center of what had once been Seoul. The destruction still took her breath away. Yet all around her, construction crews worked. Children played in parks built among the ruins. Life continued. "Impressive, isn't it?" said a voice behind her. Jin turned to see Hana Park. The two friends hugged tightly. "When did you get back from the Viridian homeworld?" asked Jin. "Yesterday," said Hana. "They sent a whole fleet this time. 20 ships, all loaded with building materials and medical supplies." Jin looked up at the sky. The large Viridian ships were visible even in daylight, their sleek forms hovering above major cities around the world. "Better late than never," said Jin. Her voice held no anger now, just acceptance. "They've changed," said Hana. "Sorlath's sacrifice. It affected their whole society. They're trying to overcome their limitations." Jin nodded. She still thought often of the alien ambassador who had stayed behind on the Corvin mothership. His body had never been found, but his actions had saved countless lives. "The Viridian Council wants to meet with Earth's leaders," said Hana. "They're proposing a formal alliance." After hiding during the invasion, Jin raised an eyebrow. "They're honest about their failure," said Hana. "But they also point out that without their ship and technology, we couldn't have deployed your sonic weapon." Jin couldn't argue with that. The victory had been a joint effort, even if humans had done most of the fighting. 3 days later, the newly rebuilt United Nations headquarters in Geneva hosted the historic meeting. Da Song, now appointed Earth's Security Council chair, led the human delegation. His left arm was gone, replaced with a mechanical one, a reminder of the battle on the Corvin ship. The Viridian delegation was led by High Counselor Korin, who had replaced Korlath as their chief diplomat. Behind him stood dozens of Viridians, all watching the humans with their large black eyes. "People of Earth," began Korin, his voice soft but clear through the translation device. "We come to formally apologize for our retreat during your darkest hour. Our biology failed us, but we have learned from your example." Day nodded slightly. "We accept your apology, High Counselor, and we thank you for your help now." "We propose more than help," said Korin. "We propose an alliance. The Viridian Collective offers our technology and resources. In exchange, we ask that you teach us." "Teach you?" asked Da, surprised. "What could we possibly teach beings who have traveled the stars for thousands of years?" "Courage," said Korin simply. "The ability to face fear rather than be controlled by it. This quality of humans, it is unique in our experience of the galaxy." The room fell silent. The idea that advanced aliens would want to learn from humans seemed strange. "Our evolution took a different path than yours," continued Korin. "We developed technology and intelligence, but we also developed an extreme fear response. When threatened, we freeze or flee. We cannot choose to fight, as you can." "That's just biology," said Jin, who sat beside Da. "You can't change your nature." "Perhaps not entirely," agreed Korin. "But Sorlath showed us it is possible to overcome our instincts with great effort." He felt fear, yet he acted anyway. We wish to learn how to do this. The meeting continued for hours. The proposed alliance would have many parts. Viridian technology would help rebuild Earth faster. Human military experts would train Viridians in defense strategies. Most importantly, humans and Viridians would live and work together, learning from each other. We will call it the Sol-Viridian Accord, said Dai as the final agreement was prepared. Named for both our star systems. Corinne made a gesture that the humans now recognized as agreement. It marks a new beginning for both our peoples. As they signed the document, applause filled the room. Photographers captured the historic moment, the first official alliance between humans and an alien species. 6 months later, the alliance was flourishing. Viridian technology had helped rebuild cities faster than anyone thought possible. Their medical knowledge saved countless lives. In return, humans shared their unique perspective on survival and adaptation. Jin now worked in a joint research facility near the rebuilt Sol. Her lab was filled with both human and Viridian scientists. Today, she was giving a tour to a special visitor, a young Viridian named Corin, child of the High Counselor. And this is where we test new materials for buildings, Jin explained as they walked through the lab. Your people build so quickly, said young Corin. On our world, a new building takes many years of careful planning. Well, we've had a lot of practice rebuilding after disasters, said Jin with a smile. It's part of human history. They stepped outside onto a balcony overlooking a park. Below, human and Viridian children played together. The sight still amazed Jin. The alien children moved more cautiously than the human ones, but they were learning to take small risks, to climb a little higher, to run a little faster. Before I met humans, said young Corin, my teachers said that avoiding danger was the highest form of intelligence. But now I think differently. Oh, Jin was curious. What do you think now? I think facing danger when necessary is the highest intelligence, said Corin. Running away is easy. Standing firm is hard. But sometimes standing firm is the right choice. Jin smiled. The young alien had understood something many adult Viridians still struggled with. As night fell, they watched the stars come out. Jin pointed to a faint light moving across the sky. That's the memorial satellite, she said. It orbits Earth to honor those who died in the invasion, both human and Viridian. Like Ambassador Xorlith? Asked Corin. Yes, said Jin. He showed that anyone can be brave, even when their body is telling them to run away. The young Viridian was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, do humans ever want to run away from danger? Jin laughed softly. All the time. We feel fear very strongly. Our hearts race. Our hands shake. Part of us always wants to run. But you don't, said Corin, sounding confused. Sometimes we do, admitted Jin. Running is the right choice in many situations. But when something important is at stake, our freedom, our loved ones, our home, we can choose to overcome that fear. How? Asked Corin, leaning closer. By focusing on what matters more than our fear, said Jin. By remembering that some things are worth being afraid for. Later that night, Jin met with Dai and Hana at a small restaurant. The three friends had been through so much together, and these meetings had become important to them. The Viridian fleet stopped a Corvin scout ship at the edge of our solar system yesterday, said Dai as they ate. They didn't call for human help. They handled it themselves. They're learning, said Hana proudly. And so are we, added Jin. Their technology is amazing. We've made medical advances in 6 months that would have taken us decades. Day looked out the window at the rebuilt city. Do you think we'll ever be truly safe? The galaxy seems full of dangers we never imagined. Probably not, said Jin honestly. But that's okay. Humans don't need safety to thrive. We never have. That's what makes us different, said Hana. What makes us human? They raised their glasses in a toast. To Earth, to their new allies, and to the understanding that had come from their darkest hour. Far above them, In space, Viridian ships patrolled alongside new human vessels. The stars no longer seemed so cold and distant. The galaxy was still dangerous, still filled with threats. But now, two very different species faced it together. One that had evolved to avoid danger at all costs, and one that had evolved to face it head-on. Together, they were stronger than either could be alone. The Viridians provided caution and advanced technology. The humans provided courage and adaptability. It was a partnership unlike any the galaxy had seen before. And on a distant planet, news of this alliance reached the Corvan Dominion. They had never been defeated before Earth. They had never encountered a species that fought harder when cornered. And now, that species had allies. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Corvans felt something unfamiliar. They felt fear.